I hate soccer.
Dude, when you commented on that video, I was like
Nah,
starstruck. Yeah,
no.
man. Yeah, because I was a few years ago, I reached out to you when you were doing your mic'd up uh uh Instagram
Coaching?
posts.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I reached out to you and I was like, dude, what mics are you using? And you
Oh,
were
that was
kind enough.
you. Okay, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were kind enough to, tell me what you were using, and I ended up getting some.
Did they
But
work good?
yeah, dude, and I followed all your entire story pretty much. I followed the entire thing, and when you when you commented on that video, I was like, oh, I gotta figure out how to do this remotely because I've only been doing these in person. Uh, and it's very Buffalo, Western New York specific, and then I'm gonna be taking it on the road to where I came up in Michigan, uh, coaching, and I have contacts throughout the country that I'm gonna try to get on. But dude, when you came on, I'm like, okay, I gotta figure out how to do this
Well,
remotely.
I'm glad I was able to kind of innovate that. But I think it's a great show, and I think like having people on virtually, then you can speak to all different type of people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I love the name, even though I'm SoccerViza. I hate soccer. I get it. So
And of course, I love soccer,
of
and
course,
I've dedicated my entire life to it. But there are things that I just can't stand, right? And a lot of it is, I don't know, a lot of it is, college based and stuff like
oh, we
that. But
can talk all day about that. I'm excited because that's what I.
absolutely,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm excited. Do you mind if I go on Instagram live while it's going on?
Uh, Please
All right,
do
cool.
it.
Let's do it. So I'm just gonna tell him real quick. Can you have need the code?
No, it's open.
It's open. All right, perfect. So you just hit live and we're good to go. All right.
Awesome.
So you just tell me what to do and I will do it. All right, Jason, I'm all yours.
All right. I mean, I don't really do any like intros or anything like that, but I mean, again, it's just with me, it's just a conversation, and it's not like a list of questions or anything like that. But first and foremost, the move to Romania from Costa Rica, what is it? Is it better access to other professional clubs, or what led to that?
Well, we're moving a lot of players to Europe, right? Over the 12 years that we've been a company. So Costa Rica was magical and it was amazing. Like it was honest, it's my favorite place in the world. And I regret leaving every day, even though I don't for work, but for life, I regret it because it's just an amazing place. But a lot of our players were coming to our program and then we were shipping them to Europe. So they were paying to come to us, paying to go back home, and then paying to go to Europe. So we were
Yeah.
like, if we can own a pro team and our center have it in Europe, it's easier for them. You know what I mean? And there's a
Yeah.
lot more teams. Costa Rica is kind of limited, where Europe,
Right.
there's a lot more teams, you know.
What division are you guys in?
So we're in third division.
Third
And
division?
yeah, it's probably like low USL championship level.
Okay.
So it's a decent level. We get a lot of fans, which is cool. The environment's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we were
And
like, go ahead, go ahead.
no, nope. You
So if we were like we got like 500 fans now, and we're not winning. We have a really young team, so we're trying to develop guys. So we're not winning games, but when we start winning, because these guys develop, you're looking at 3, 5 to maybe 8,000 people, depending on where you sit in the
in the
stand.
table.
Yeah,
Yeah. So promotion and relegation and all of that, right?
yeah.
Real, a real system. Eh, I mean, what? How how are you finding the mentality over there with promotion and relegation versus? Did they have pro rel in Costa Rica where you guys were at?
Yep, they had it as well. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, just the mentality versus the American player who never really has to play into anything.
Yeah. So
Eh,
that's a great
eh,
question. So I played in Europe, so I got to feel it, right? And when I
Right.
got to go there at a young age, I realized, holy cow, this isn't mom and dads and kids at the games. This is like guys with tattoos on their neck, and they love this club. So if you're not winning, And you feel that pressure. Also, like being at a smaller club. I played top league in Finland, but it's not a huge league in the world of football. But it was, you're getting paid decently. But you felt the pressure of getting paid a salary and the president and the sporting director expecting to get results because they're paying you a salary. There's no playoff next season. It's either if we finish mid-table, we just wasted this much as expenses. If we finish at the top half of the table, we made money because you qualified for Europa League or Champions League qualifiers. And if you're in the relegation zone and you get relegated, it's like, shit, we not only lost money, but we're going to lose a lot more money by going down. So that pressure is crazy. And a lot of Americans, when they come over, they don't understand that pressure till they're in it,
Yeah.
Because we grow up on playoffs. Oh, you didn't make it? There's always the playoffs next year. And it's like,
exactly.
It doesn't work that way here,
And like here with draft picks, it's like, oh, we suck, so we get rewarded with the #1 draft pick. And okay. So when in Costa Rica, it was a lot of American players.
All over. We get guys from all over the world.
Especially now, be it in Romania, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see how hard is it for the American players to assimilate to, whoa, this culture, like you were saying, with like the fans that have like tattoos on their neck, like how long did that take?
It's actually still hard. I mean, when we get guys and we sign them, we do a lot of intro meetings with them where I sit with them and speak about, here's the culture and here's how it works. Like one of the things that's really interesting that not really spoken about.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode of the I Hate Soccer podcast. If you feel stuck in your recruiting process, we created a guide that includes feedback from 15 college coaches and 10 current college soccer players. Inside this guide, you'll find out what really works in recruiting, from showcases, ID camps, highlight reels, and more. Check it out at playmakertraining.com/recruited.
So like in America, we grow up on team sports.
Yeah.
Right. Like, come on, team. Let's go, team. 1, 2, 3, team. Let's go. In Europe and other places, it's like we know we're part of a team. Here's my role within the team. So you do your role. I'll do my role. And that's the team. So you're not getting guys who are like, come on, let's go. We can do this. It's not like that in the locker rooms. It's more like, listen, we know we're a team. We got to work together. That's standard. And you better do your job. If I'm getting you the ball, that's my job. Now you need to do your job and finish. And it's crazy because when we get the American and North Americans over, they're like, hey, you missed the shot. It's okay. And they're like, no, it's not okay.
Right.
I crossed the ball in a dangerous area. You got to finish. And that's something that's hard for North Americans to understand. It's like, next one. No, there's not a next one.
Right.
You get what I mean?
Yeah. So when I first came to Buffalo, I was with the Western New York Flash in the NWSL. And I saw that firsthand imagine, okay, we trained 5 times this week for that one moment in a game when you are right in front of the net. And if you miss that opportunity, it's like you let the entire team down. And it's like, we just worked so hard to set you up in that situation. You have to, literally in that moment, the fate of the team is in your hands. But again, it's the NWSL, and it's like, oh, well, we lost. We only won 3 games. And, well, there's next year. Well, there's not pro rel here. And do you ever see, okay, so the USL announced, their whole new, what does it mean?
Bullshit. It's clickbait. It's clickbait. Think about it. The World Cup's coming to the US. USL is very smart from a marketing standpoint. They're going to use this as clickbait to get investors to invest in American soccer because, everything's coming there. So what a great marketing strategy. We're competing with MLS. There's 2 leagues here. Here's how it works. So, $20 million to buy a USL championship franchise, $5 to $7 million to buy a USL 1 franchise. So think about it. You get these investors in that don't want to pay $200 million to be part of MLS or $300 million, whatever it is. So they're going to pay $20 million or $7 million. The problem is the culture. We in the States, we don't understand pro and relegation, right? So like we're built, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just the culture, right? Basketball, baseball, NHL. Like a lot of guys say we're doing it wrong, soccer's wrong. But we have hundreds of years of cultures of other main sports being this way. So people are conditioned to be like, there's the playoffs, right? In Europe, it's hundreds of years of the opposite. Like we have to be consistent in the table to stay up or to get promoted. So I think the hardest part is not so much the idea. The idea is the easy part, right? The hard part's going to be the culture is just not going to be used to it. And the culture is not going to understand. The culture is not going to understand, wait, we're going to drop down. And the investors are going to say, I paid $20 million. You want me to drop first?
Right.
It's the same with like people ask, why don't we have the selling of players? So like in Europe, we can sell players, right?
Yeah. And training compensation and solidarity payments.
Watch this. Okay. In Europe, it's standard culture that if Manchester United wants a player from London who plays for a small club, what's the parents going to do? They're going to say, all right, bring him to Manchester. Now, let's say an American parent, Inter Miami wants it's getting better, but Inter Miami wants a guy from a local team in Texas. And as 15 years old. And the parent and the Miami approaches the parents like he's got to move to Miami and be here long term. Unfortunately, the mindset of the parents like, you want my kid to move where at 15 years old? Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's it's the culture.
I mean, so few parents would actually do that. We actually have one local here in Buffalo that their kid has been with Sporting KC since he was 13. And people are like, what in the world? They don't understand. And he's on a different track. He's 18 and he's on their second team or whatever. So
it's a different culture. And I don't think, I always said this, like when you walk down a youth soccer field, you see, like you got the Kansas City Chiefs back there. You got Kansas City, you got New England Patriots, you got the Giants, you got the Detroit Pistons hats on, right? Yeah. And even though there's some Manchester United, Liverpool hats, the parents, the family members don't really understand the culture of what European football is. So they can't relate to if things change, then we're a European away, even though we're going to try to do it.
Right.
I just don't think the culture is going to accept it, not because they don't want to. It's just it doesn't make sense to them.
It's unbelievable, especially since, I mean, how many years has MLS blocked solidarity payments or training compensation? It's ridiculous because, I mean, you talk about it all the time about the pay to play. And when you really break it down per training session, I mean, what is it? Like $10? It's not even $10 a session, right?
Well, yeah.
But the problem isn't the club dues. The problem is the travel. Our teams from Buffalo, our ECNL girls, they had a league game this past weekend in Tennessee. It's 11 hours away. What's 11 hours away from where you're at in Romania? What country would you be in?
I'd be in Italy.
So it's insane that. And then they're going to Florida for a showcase, and then you got to go right back down to Louisville. 3 weeks back to back to back. And it's like, if I had kids, they couldn't play soccer. Not at the ECNL or MLS next level. It's insane, the cost.
I hear that. But then whose fault is that? That's U.S. soccer. And I think we blame these clubs for being expensive, and it's not true at all. Like, how are they? Look, a coaching salary, right? The administration, the player pass, the league fees, the tournament, the renting the field, the insurance, all these things bake in. $3K is not a lot a year. I'm sorry.
It's not. No, I'm with you 100% on that. People are, well, our club dues are going up. It's like, dude, things cost money.
In the States?
It costs money.
It's free here because we can sell them. Like, look, we have a couple of junior players, more than a couple. If they sign professionally or have a certain amount of appearances, I got to pay their youth club compensation.
Right.
So think about that. So it's free because that club invested in all their training. And now that they sign for a professional team, once they turn professional and they play a certain amount of games or reach a milestone, we as a club have to pay their training compensation.
Which is crazy because you're coming up as a small club and
Doesn't
you got to pay it. So that's why it's so important to have homegrown players.
100%.
How's your youth academy right now? You guys got 2 teams?
That's great. How'd you know? That's pretty good. We got 2 teams. So we basically rent the teams from a local club because we just got here and we haven't really built the infrastructure yet for a youth academy. So we rent teams from a local club.
Okay. And then they're too young to be sold so far, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely too young, but right now we're not looking at them to be sold. They're kind of a placeholder, and we're building a relationship with the club for hopefully future development. But we need it by league standards to have 2 registered youth teams.
Got it. How is the youth culture over there, the youth system?
It's really good. I think there's a lot of talent. It's a smaller European country in terms of football. It just got out of communism, 30 years ago? So that's starting to really change, but it's got a long way to go. But the country is beautiful. It's the safest country I've ever been to. 0 crime rate where I live, 0.
Awesome.
Very, very cheap to live and beautiful. I mean, I love living here.
All right. We obviously know how cutthroat the youth system is in let's say England or France when kids are released every single year and then they sign in new players. Is that how it is where you're at right now? Where is it just like I think which video did you comment on? Was it the Caleb? It might not have been the Caleb Stanko one because one of the best youth players that I ever worked with was Caleb Stanko. He's playing still professionally in Greece. He came up with Freiburg, but at the U13 level, he was sent over to Derby County, and when he got back, the Derby County coaches reached out to our club and said the only kid that can hang was Caleb Stanko. And then Stanko said basically that every kid over there is so intense because every kid wants to be a pro. Over here, he's on a DA club at the time, and half of them don't even know if they want to play college soccer. And he wants to be a pro. It's like there's levels to this.
Think about what you just said. Here it's different. I just got off the phone with a dad whose son played for Vancouver Whitecaps Academy, and they moved to Germany because they wanted to give him more chance. And he's playing like in the 5th division for youth there. And he goes, Joe, it's crazy. We're in the 5th division of German football for the youth, and it is so competitive. In Canada, it was hard to find 15 kids who wanted to go pro, 12 kids, 10 kids. Everyone on this youth academy wants to go pro, and it is hard. The competition level is crazy.
Right. And it was kind of nice when I was with the Flash because we were all under one facility, right? So we had the pros walking through, and then you had the U9 girls walking around, and they see the pros, right? And these girls growing up actually got to be around professionals in professional soccer. Not every club in the United States, almost every club in the United States does not have that. They don't see that. They don't see the pathway. Our pathway is just college soccer. And I think that's why we're so far behind. And I think that's why our women are getting caught so quickly is because we just worry about the college scholarship, but we're not worried about competing internationally.
Culture. Can't even get upset about it because you can't get upset about it. This is what's crazy is people get upset about it, but it's like hundreds of years of American culture being different, and to change it will take a lot of time. And look, we had a youth club in Connecticut that we built from like 70 kids to 1,000 kids in 2.5 years, right? That we ended up selling to another club when we moved to Costa Rica. So we grew it like crazy. And if we were going to be in the USL 1 or USL Championship, our business model would have been our youth, because that's how you get ticket sales, sponsors, and everything. But when we looked at USL Championship and USL 1, the fee to get in was so crazy. We were like, no, we're going to be in the red every year. Plus, we got to spend 20 or 5 million to get in. You know what I mean? That's why you see so many clubs fold and new clubs come in and fold. Because if you're an investor, right? If you're an investor and you buy a USL club for 20 million, okay, how do clubs make money? Selling players, TV deals, ticket sales, sponsors, and merchandise. You're not getting that many ticket sales consistently at USL games. It's getting better, but you're not enough to pay how expensive America is, not enough to pay your salaries or anything, right? You're not selling players. The TV deal with, I believe it was NBC, the USL took that as an organization, didn't hand it out to all the clubs, right? Like, so merchandise you're not selling enough of. No. And so, and where you're in the red every year. So as an investor, if I do it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, okay, at the fifth year, I'm like, well, I've lost a lot of money here. And that's why you see so many clubs come in and out.
And it's not like the leagues pay you for being promoted or relegated, because at the time
they do for us.
That's what I'm saying, right? USL and US Soccer, especially with this new USL system, it's not like USL is going to pay, oh, you got relegated, here's $1 million just to make sure that you don't go defunct, which happens in England, right? Like if you get relegated, you get a little bit of money, so that, and the TV deal is huge, and the revenue share of that, and it's
think about this.
How is it sustainable?
Think about this. When we were in Iceland, when I was in Iceland playing, we qualified for the Champions League qualifiers. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Europa League qualifiers. We made $350,000 per group game, per qualification game as a club.
So UEFA pays clubs.
So basically, we got a team from Ireland first round. We made $350,000 as a club for clinching the qualifying rounds, and that money helped pay for the flights, the hotels, right? When we had to go to Ireland. Plus, we were able to pocket some money. Do you see CONCACAF doing that with any clubs?
No, I was just about to say that. There's no way CONCACAF's doing that.
Exactly.
Where did you played in Iceland, right?
I played in Iceland, Italy, England, Finland.
And States. We just had a girl that played in Iceland. Reykjavik?
Yeah. Great women's league.
Yeah. See, man. So what I was hoping. Okay. So obviously, I'm a Chiefs guy. I was born in Kansas City. I was a Chiefs fan before I even knew what soccer was. So, so the start of the NFL and the AFL was. Well, Lamar Hunt, who owned the Chiefs, started the AFL, and the NFL was threatened by it. So then they came calling to merge, and then it became the NFL, right? And so I have always said that to people that have complained about the MLS, start your own league and do a really good job, and maybe one day they'll come and asking for a merger, just like Lamar Hunt did.
It's gonna happen. That's what USL wants. Yeah, this is USL smart. They want Big Daddy to buy USL.
Right.
Think about it. WWF. Remember when we grew up? World Wrestling Federation. Do you remember?
Yeah.
There was WCW and there was ECW, right?
Yep.
Okay. What happened? Big Daddy bought all of them. Who was Big Daddy?
WWE.
WWE, which was WWF at the time.
Right? Yep.
He bought all three and made it WWE. And it's that's American business sports. That's what they want. It's so smart by USL. If they is because MLS is such a profitable company and league. If people are paying $300 million to be part of a franchise, that's just to get into the MLS. In years to come, they're going to have enough money to buy these little fish, which is USL Championship. I think that's the model they're trying to go after.
I always bring this up too. Of one of the big differences is that the main federation needs to be heavily involved in youth development and youth players. And I feel like U.S. Soccer, who was created in 1913, didn't have their own league until 2007, with the DA. They always contracted it out to USYSA and then AYSO, and then US Club Soccer comes out of nowhere, and now they create the ECNL and they dominate on the girls' side at least. And then they're like, oh, MLS next. Now MLS has their own thing. And you know what? We might change back to the old birth year versus whatever. But we're going to let the leagues decide. US soccer doesn't care about youth soccer at all. What do you see in other federations? What do you?
I don't think anyone cares about youth soccer. I think they talk like they do, but the reality is clubs are on their own to develop players. The only reason why it looks like other countries care about their youth is because the clubs are able to sell their best youth players. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because look, the U.S. Soccer, Romanian Federation, the Italian Federation, the English Federation, they're all going to make money through registration fees and league fees and stuff like that. So they do a good job by setting up a system that allows clubs to make money to sell young players. But do they really care? You know, they do. They do maybe a little bit more, or a lot more than U.S. Soccer does. But U.S. Soccer it's 20. It might have went up. It's $30 or $25 to get a player card for any team in U.S. Soccer. Think about how many kids play soccer, and they all pay $30. Exactly.
And they're just raking it in every single year.
Wow. I mean, it's crazy. So it's a big business, and people, that's why I hate when like U.S. soccer people, and I say it in the most respectful way, not hate, that's wrong to say, but I would love to have a real educated debate and say, do you guys understand how much of a business U.S. soccer is, and how are they going to change? You know what I mean? And even if there's pro and relegation, you're going to tell a local club from Kansas City that everyone trusts. You're from Kansas City, right?
Originally, yeah.
Okay, where do you live now?
Buffalo, New York.
You're going to tell a local club from Buffalo, New York, that's trusted by family and people in the city that their program doesn't count anymore because they're not in pro and relegation. It's not going to work. People are going to go to people who have no football or soccer education are always going to use the Buffalo Soccer Association first because they don't know any better, and that's who they trust.
That's true.
Crazy,
man,
right?
It's such an uphill battle.
Yeah, but is it? I mean, I think we just got to realize what it is. I think the drama makes it interesting, right? It gives us something to speak about.
So I have a couple players that they're pretty high level players. You know, they're MLS next and Boise CNL, decent players. They don't want to go to college, or they don't want to play college soccer. They don't want to go that route. They want to go the pro route. Okay. What would you say to those families? Like, they have to go to these certain clubs. They need to try to get into USL. Like, what do you say to those?
I would speak to them about the reality of football and how it works in the States and outside the States. If they're going to try to go outside the state, well, let's talk about in the States first. It's very political, and if you're not a top 25 player in a youth academy, you don't have a chance. And if you're not a top 25, now top 10 player in college, because it's not even top 25 anymore, right? Because the MLS Next has all these youth players. Right. You're really going to struggle. Mm-hmm. Like, I would say that, one, to face the realities. And two, if they're going to go to Europe, understanding it is lonely. It's going to be expensive because nobody knows who you are. So you're going to make minimal money. Mm-hmm. That's the advice I would give. And then once they understand the reality of it, you know.
Then let's see if you can really go and
do that. It's easy. Like, people say, look, I can play third division in Romania. Oh, yeah. It's third division. I can play there. Oh, yeah. And we get guys from top colleges here, and they're like, shit, coach, like, the level's a lot better than I thought it was. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
Exactly. And so also, okay, when you come up in the coaching licensing and all that, we're always fed, well, La Masia, you know, and we got to follow what they're doing. And so it's rondos every single day. And then it's Ajax, and Ajax is, you know, they take certain days and they do gymnastics and motor skills with their players. Oh, so we need to follow that model and stuff. And I always question, those clubs have access to some of the best youth players in the world. Is development really at that level real? Think
I
about
think
the kid. Think about the kid that Messi replaced when he came in at 13. Whatever happened to that kid? Did he get released and cut and never played again? Did he go to another club? Like Messi came in at 13, and we act like Barcelona. I always joke, Messi's kid right now is playing for Inter Miami youth, and they show highlights of him scoring like 11 goals last week. And I go, man, what are they doing at Inter Miami? They must be so good, man. They're killing it in player development. It's like, well, yeah, but it's easy when you have the best player in the world and his son. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
yeah. I mean, they can pick the best players at all levels, right, Jason? Like they can go to Africa and go find a way to bring the best young talent. Well, not anymore as much. There's more rules, but there's always ways around it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're the biggest mafia. These big clubs, they don't play fair. And anyone who's been in the industry and been able to sit in rooms with big clubs will know it's not. There's a lot of stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I can only imagine.
Oh, game match fixing, big one for me. I've seen it at all. Oh, I've seen it at all levels. It gets to the point where like I watch a Champions League game because of the things I've seen and been around.
Yeah.
Where I'll see a Champions League game and I'll be like, that looks a little bit different. I wonder if anyone put a bet on that. You know, like some.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. That's all regarding the sports gambling, right? It has to be.
There's so much of that at all levels, man. So much levels. There's so many like all over. I've seen it firsthand as a player. I've been around it where there was one of our goalkeepers from Kenya was getting paid 50,000 euros to let goals in when I had first signed in Finland. I've seen it in Costa Rica. I've seen it here in Romania. Yeah, match fixing and those things are real.
Oh my God. Dude, what was the reaction with your teammates when you guys found that out? Do you want to kill the goalie?
Yeah, but it was kind of like a shock moment because I remember he was taking 50,000 euros per game from a Singapore like gambler to throw the games, and no one had proven it yet, but it was in the newspaper. So I remember it coming out in the newspaper, and we were all like, "What?" And he flipped out, and he was like, "Oh, if you guys think this is true, this is crazy." And then 2 years later, it came out from like the police were like UEFA and FIFA were after him. So at the time, he just stopped playing. He was like, "No, I'm not doing this. They think this, that." And I think like that year, Ropes got like 4 players arrested, which was another team in our league. And then we had like 1 or 2 guys being investigated. So it's a real thing. And Finland's like such a good country, amazing people, very safe. Like that's frowned upon. Like it's crazy. But it happens everywhere, Jason. Everywhere.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah, but it's the reality. You know what they say in England, which I love? This is something I love. They say this in England. In England, they say, football is a game for gentlemen run by thugs, and rugby is a game of thugs run by gentlemen. I think that is so amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's 100%.
Yeah, that's a good.
Man, I mean, I don't know. You were talking about earlier about college. That you have so many thoughts on college soccer. Like, I mean,
college soccer.
What's sad here is that it's only one league. One league is dominating on the girls' side. One league is dominating, and on the boys' side,
what does it matter?
It's internationals. It's internationals, and it's. I mean, not a lot of MLS Next kids are getting recruited to go to play college soccer.
They don't want
right. So what do I mean?
What's the point of college soccer besides being a great vehicle to get an education? You got to tell me. Like, I would say 90% of college players on a roster team don't even have the ambition of playing professionally.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So if I'm a youth player in America and I want to go the college route, I should have the mindset that I'm going the college route to use it as a vehicle to get my education, not as a vehicle to go professionally or get identified by professional clubs.
Right, because you notice, what are all the top female players in this country doing? They're going pro. They're going pro when they're 15, 16, 17 years old now, right? They're going to more, they're going the Europe route.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love it. Do you guys have a women's side?
No, but Cecilia, who's our president, my business partner, she wants to do a women's side. It's just about time and it's expensive. And when you run a club, you realize how expensive it is, and the return is so rare because you got to really run a good program and sell players. And if you don't, you're going to be in the red every year. Yeah. So something she wants to do, and I'm behind everything she wants to do, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah. How long have you guys been working together? You and Cecilia?
8 years, 9 years.
Wow. All throughout Costa Rica. What year did you guys go to Costa Rica?
2020, 2021, during COVID.
Okay. Yeah, and then you got to escape. Where were you? Connecticut?
We were in Connecticut, yeah.
How did you sell? You don't what?
I don't miss Connecticut. I miss my family every day, but other than that, I don't miss the States. I don't miss the States.
Where did you play growing up?
So I played for a local organization called Norwalk Junior Soccer and JSA. I played there, and then I was lucky enough to have a good contact in Italy. So at 16, I went to play in Italy for Salernitana. I didn't get off, and they're a Serie B team now. They were Serie A last year, and they were, when I was there, Serie B, and I played for the program. I didn't get offered a first team contract.
Okay.
So I went back to high school, and back then, high school was crazy. The best players in the country played high school. Yeah, because there was no ECNL or
MLS Next, DA, all of that.
I mean, the high school system was crazy, and I had one of my favorite players growing up was Giovanni Savarese. Do you know him? He was the coach of Portland Timbers, who won the MLS Cup.
Yeah, that was like 2000. What year was that? 2006? No, 2000. No, earlier.
No, he played in the MLS early 2000s. Yeah, he was early. He was number 17. He was a striker for the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars. When Donadoni was there, Lexi Lawless was there.
Yeah, Tony Miola.
Yeah, and they used to play with those balls that look like volleyballs. Do you remember those?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. He was my favorite player, as a kid in the MLS. Giovanni Savarese. Yeah. And we ended up having a mutual family friend, and he connected us with Gio. And I'll be honest, Gio gave me a chance to go to the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars out of high school. And he believed it was crazy because you're young. And this guy who you grew up watching in the MLS as a kid is now helping you go into the MLS. And it was crazy. Right. And he helped me a lot. But I didn't get a first team. I was with the first team. I didn't play any first team games. There was an MLS Reserve League at the time. I played in that, and then got released. And my journey started all around the world after that.
Right. Do you recommend? Did you ever have an agent?
I didn't know. I wanted one, but no one wanted to work with me. And now, being in the industry at the depth that I'm in the industry, I understand why no agents want to work with players. I understand it completely.
Why is that?
Okay, ready? Okay, so how do agents make money?
3% of whatever 4%. Is it 4%? 4% of whatever contract you sign, right?
So let's say I'm a USL player and I'm at the minimum making 35, 40 grand a year.
Yeah.
What's 4% of that?
I don't even know.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
So how many players at that caliber do I need to make a living off of it?
100.
Yeah, you're right.
Today.
Yeah. So why as an agent would I waste my time doing that? I want to work with bigger clients. So even though a player might be good enough to reach a higher level, the amount of work that's going to go in to make a decent commission on them is not worth it. So it's not like they don't deserve an agent. It's just it doesn't make sense for an agent to waste their time.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It is,
What's about this stuff, Jason? No one talks about it. Yeah, but no one does.
Why not?
No, because I don't know why. I don't know why. It's a good question. I would love to get on one of these big MLS. Like, there's a couple of my friends who I played with that are on big TV networks, and I would love for them to call me out, because I think it would go viral because I would call things out, and two, I think they don't want to do it because I would be able to uncover a lot of things that people don't talk about.
Why can't people talk about hard stuff?
Because it's bad for business. If the truth comes out, it's bad for business, right? If you're a whistleblower, people are going to start looking at things different.
That's kind of how I built my brand here, is that I don't know why my camera keeps on moving.
It's pretty cool, actually.
It's like following me. I don't know. But I kind of like, so I would do talking head videos on YouTube. And basically all I would do is listen to the kids throughout the week that I train. And they would talk about, what their parents said or something like that. Just almost like a therapy session. And then I would go on and I would be, okay, parents, stop doing this, or why do club coaches do this? And I built a brand of kind of being a truth teller, but I also came out as being negative towards everybody. And that's why I started this podcast, because now everything's coming out through a natural conversation with somebody like you. And then people are like, oh, maybe Jason was right, that there's a lot of shady shit going on in this business. And it's crazy. And nobody wants to talk about it. Or nobody wants to expose it.
No,
because is it comfort? Is it like, it's the way it is. And so deal with it.
I think it's just the way it is. Big companies are big companies for a reason. MLS is a huge company, and they monopolize the game. And if you talk about it, it's, I don't know. It's just the way it is. I also think American soccer, listen, I deal with USL clubs and I work with MLS clubs. Okay. And I work with European clubs to place players. Do you know the hardest conversations are actually with the US clubs? They don't even look at a player. Like, I could call a big European club and say, hey, how are you? Look, I got a good player. Would you be interested in looking at him? Okay, send me his info. Like, real good conversations. Right. I call a USL coach that I played with, or someone that it's like, well, and they're not even foreigners. They're Americans. Okay, I got an American who's been playing here, second league in Europe. He's really good. Let's give him a shot. Well, and it's like, they're so close to it's crazy.
Yeah.
And we've placed a lot of players in the US leagues, Oh, and we also have a lot of players that have been very successful in the US leagues. I mean, you look at Nate Stainwasher from Detroit City FC. He's been the captain there for the last. He's a SoccerViza guy,
He is? Nate is?
Yeah, Nate's a SoccerViza guy.
I trained Nate when he was younger. So, okay. So I'm from Kansas City, but I grew up in Michigan. And that's where I started my coaching. And I started out as a goalkeeper trainer. And Nate was that's crazy. That's one of my goalkeepers through the ODP program. And then, I mean, he's like he comes from a really good soccer family, and they own him. Yeah, he is. It's crazy.
Great feet, strong hands.
Yep. They own Nationals. This is a massive club in Michigan. It's like 700 teams.
Really? 700 teams?
Yeah, because what they do is they go around and they buy up all the small clubs. And then, I mean,
700.
It's crazy. Yeah, but like 3,500 players just in one club in Michigan. Michigan's a little hotbed.
There's so much talent there, man.
So many kids fall through the cracks, though.
But we just talked about it. The system sucks. How are they not supposed to fall through the cracks? How? You want to make football interesting in America? Create youth compensation first, and create that, and then everyone will start. You'll see who the real clubs are, because when they don't have to pay to play, then it'll come down to developing. But at the same time, politics will come into it, and people will play dirty to keep the best players. So it's the nature of the beast. It's the jungle, and you got to be the strongest in the jungle to survive.
Do you think I'm really sick of everybody blaming it on coaching. Well, U.S. soccer or U.S. doesn't have any good coaches. What are we
Bullshit.
talking about? What are we
Bullshit.
talking about? It's such a lazy take.
I can bring you to Europe too. Like Iceland sold the most youth players in Europe when I was there, and respectfully to their coaches, the sessions weren't the best, but they had the best facilities that allowed players to play all the time, and players were playing in the street and stuff like that. So it's not coaching; it's the environment, it's the culture. It's the excuses. In Costa Rica, some of the best technical players I've ever seen. Like they were amazing.
Right.
They didn't even have shoes. We signed one kid named Axel. We went to this little village and we watched the game and we were like, who the fuck is this guy? He didn't even have shoes. I had to give him my shoes to play. I'm dead serious.
I rip on our kids. When I like to play with or train with size 3s and size 4s and size 5s. And when the size 3 comes up, they're like, what is this? This is ridiculous. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that your $300 shoes can't handle a size 3 soccer ball. Oh, this ball's flat. It's like, well, okay, we'll pump it up. But what, are we just going to stop playing? This ball right here, this is from Ghana, Africa. It's made of
That is sick. That is awesome.
And this is what they play with. And we have kids in here that complain about using a size 3 soccer ball, and they're like I said, in their $200 to $300 cleats, and we're a little soft, just a little soft.
One of my favorite lines is to American soccer players when they come in with their new shoes and they can't trap a ball or they don't have the same technique. I'm like, you got $300 shoes and a $2 touch. It doesn't add up. It's one of my favorite lines.
I love that. That's genius.
I love that.
Because oh my God, it's so true.
$300 shoes. They got the flashiest shoes, and they can't hit the target consistently. And it's like I can bring you to Costa Rica where they got no shoes, and that guy will put 8 out of 10 on frame. Or Brazil, or the streets of you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. How big is street soccer in Romania?
Huge. I mean, right now, right outside my office window, there's a little wooden wooden area where there's stores around, and kids are kicking the ball at all ages down there all the time.
Culture.
It's culture. Culture. We can't blame U.S. soccer. We can to a certain degree, but we also have to understand that in America, it's not the same culture as other countries.
Yeah, and a lot of our players. Did your parents play?
Nope.
Mine either.
Italy, hard workers.
We're still such a young soccer country where it's mostly first generation soccer players, where we're dealing with European countries and South American countries that are on their third, fourth generation soccer players already.
You want to hear something that's crazy though? Yeah. Check this out. This is cool. So me growing up, the best soccer players were Italian Americans, Greek Americans, Irish Americans. This is really cool, okay? Because my dad and mom, their first language wasn't English. It was Italian. So we grew up in more of a European household, and the best players were like Italian Americans, Greek Americans, like I said, Polish Americans. Now you're seeing a huge shift where those Italian Americans, Polish Americans that grew up in America in their friend groups, they're more NFL fans. They're like, my parents couldn't tell you who played for the Giants, but they could tell you the Juventus team and the Italian national team. But their kids, like the generation that came after them, started following football. So a lot of those kids now that are Italian American or third generation Italian American, they're big baseball, basketball, NFL fans. And you're seeing the Latin American kids who are coming over as first generation Latin Americans, whether they're South Americans, Central Americans, whose parents' first language is not English. They're the ones doing this.
Right.
Crazy?
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. Like Giuseppe Rossi, Italian fame. His dad is Italian. Now, a lot of the players that are American internationals that are really good are Latin American. Like Spanish American, like Hispanic American.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
Nobody.
I mean, look at the youth national teams. They're all Hispanic Americans. The
Yeah,
U17 boys, a lot of them are coming from Texas and like LA Galaxy and those clubs. But
and they're
yeah,
Hispanic background.
yeah,
When I grew up, it was Danny
1,000%.
Satella. Danny Satella was an unbelievable player. He was from Poland. His parents were Polish American,
Yep.
Polish first, and American. The national team was a lot different than with
Yeah.
European influence. Where it doesn't matter. I mean, it's players are players, but it's really cool to see now there's more of a Latin influence.
I've had a lot of conversations lately about the American player and playing in college and what they're looking for. And it's like athlete first, and then we can develop their technique later. In your experience, especially in Europe, when you're working with a player, what is the first thing that stands out? Like, do you subscribe to that the technique can come later?
It's hard to say, Jason, because what I've learned now, being in industry so many years at all different levels, is what's important now? Results. I'm sorry, not development at all levels.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why. Money. People are dumping a ridiculous amount of money into programs, and they want to see a return to results.
Absolutely.
So where back then development was huge, because like Totti started in Totti's youth academy and was a Totti, with Roma all these years. Now players are like, I'm not staying with my boyhood club. They want to jump to the next contract. So because so much money is getting dumped in. So I don't know. I think they're just trying to develop winners everywhere. I think that's the new, look, Sir Alex Ferguson Arsene Wenger was part of the youth program as well.
Right.
Okay. Nowadays, coaches, how long is their lifespan at a club?
Not long.
2-3 years?
Yeah.
Max. So they don't have a chance to develop the youth. When you used to hire a professional, this is what I heard, and from stories of people I hung around that were from other generations about how it worked. When you hired a professional coach for a professional team, they used to be in charge of creating the curriculum for the youth, right? And really developing the youth. Now, when you hire a professional coach, they need results for the first team. And if they don't, if you get hired for 2 years at Chelsea, are you cared about the kids that are coming up? No, because if you don't do well now, what happens to you?
You're gone.
Ciao. Where Sir Alex was there for a long time, and he was worried about the youth development.
Yep.
That's crazy. These are things no one talks about. I love it.
It's just change. Everything is. I mean,
in every sport, Jason. LeBron James went from Cleveland, Miami to LA. Steph Curry's the only one hanging out at Golden State. It's every sport.
Now. Yeah.
Every sport, nobody's sticking with their boyhood club no more. They're turning their backs. There's no loyalty in youth football anymore. I get that. And sports, youth, there's no loyalty anymore.
I just posted a video about that. Like,
I know.
I'm so sick of the parents and the players getting yelled at for not being loyal. It's like, shut up. If Man City Youth Academy wanted you to come and run their program, you would be gone by the end of the conversation. It's ridiculous. It's so hypocritical.
You should get Cecilia on the show one time. She's a president and she's my business partner, and she's a woman in the professional sports industry. So she talks about this all the time. You guys would have a good conversation about loyalty in the youth sports game, because she talks about this all the time.
Let's book it.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk to her.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you feel that? Do you feel the pressure of winning and where you're at every day?
Oh my God! Last year and this year we're in the relegation zone, and we're in the relegation zone because we have the smallest budget in the league, right? We have the smallest because it's our personal money we put in. Everyone else has the government money, right?
Yeah.
So we have a personal money, and we're a huge club. We're a big club, and the fans want my head. And you know what I did? I was going through nervous breakdowns where we weren't getting results, and I needed to speak to a therapist because I was like feeling the pressure. And then something clicked to me. And I said, wait a minute. I work day and night to keep the lights on this thing. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to answer every one of the fans on social media, in confrontation, in the most professional way. And it helped me tremendously. I would go on and be like, look, yeah, we're losing. But guess what? I work 9 to 9 to keep the lights on at your club. So until you put $1 in the most respectful way, because there's not any investors but me, I'm going to keep trying my best. And I started really going at them in the most professional, honest way. And all the pressure from me, and they probably still talk shit, but all the pressure from me is like, nah, I work hard to. If I wasn't here, this club would be in bankruptcy, or Cecilia's here. So yes, I feel the pressure, but since it's my club and I own it, we know it's a long-term project, and that we're here for the long term. You know.
Good. Yeah, and being that transparent, I bet you the fans appreciated that.
Yeah, yes.
No. Yes and no.
You know how it is. People love to hate you, and then they love you when you're doing well and hate you when you're doing bad. It's the easy thing. It's the entertainment business. We're in the entertainment business, man.
Where are most of your players from? How's the language barrier? Because you have a you have a translator during sessions, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting better at it. Like when I moved to Costa Rica, I didn't speak any Spanish, and then I became fluent at it. I think it's going to take 2 or 3 years before I'm even close to being fluent in Romanian. But everyone, 70% of the country speaks English at a decent level, so it's good.
Okay, good. Are most of your players from? I mean, where are most of your players come from?
Half and half, America, and because of SoccerViza, America's half, and then the other half is Romania.
How does the club and SoccerViza merge in terms like?
Well, SoccerViza is the ownership company of Olympia, so we own it, right? So when we bring SoccerViza players into our program, we sign them to our pro team. So that's how it works. Makes sense.
So what happened to the? Is it the same situation in Costa Rica where you guys just
sold everything? We sold everything.
Sold everything.
Oh, that one hurts, man.
Yeah.
We built something special there. We're going to build something special here, but that was really special too.
Because you guys ended up like building your own fields and everything, right?
In the most remote place of Costa Rica. It was amazing.
Yeah, like you were mowing the turf.
And I loved every second of it.
Are you doing that in Romania?
Yeah, Cecilia gets crazy at me when I go out and cut the grass because I got better things to do with it. It's like my sanctuary. I love making it feel nice. And, you know.
Yeah. See, you got a shovel.
Yeah.
Do you ever have to shovel the turf out there like here? Jesus.
Yeah, we've had to do it. Yeah, we've done it all, man.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, dude. I mean, dude, I could talk to you forever, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to connect you with Celia. Maybe like I'll connect you guys on Instagram so you guys maybe can set up something. She'd love to be on the show, and she talks from a whole different perspective. I talk development player. She talks business, which is really cool. And being a woman in the game, she also brings a different perspective.
Yeah, the business side of soccer. Even over there, even at the youth level, when parents aren't having to pay, is it still a major? Does it still feel like a business, or does it feel like youth development?
Nah, it's a business. They still get mad. They still have the same problems. It's the same thing. It's the same. It's exactly the same.
Go back to what you look for in players. The big, strong, athletic versus.
No, what I look for in players is first personality. Do they understand? Because a lot of the players we work with are guys that don't have a name. So do they understand that? And they understand they're not entitled to anything? And do they understand they really got to make a name for themselves? And second is impact. If they're a striker, are they consistently dangerous in doing their job? If they're a center back, are they the ones that are making the biggest impact? Because if I sign a foreigner, they have to be better than the locals I have, meaning they have to be really good at their job and what they do. They can't just be as good, because if they're just as good, I'm going to go pick up a local. You know what I mean? So personality and impact.
Did you have any, did you come up under any mentors, or did you go right into almost pro coaching?
I got my second year out of playing professionally, I went right into pro coaching, but I never had a mentor, and that's why I started coaching, because I always wanted a mentor, and I felt like no one really put their arm around me as a youth, and I always looked for that, you know. I looked for like a father figure or a mentor, and I never got that, and I think that's what led me to want to do this so bad, because I wanted it to be that for people, even subconsciously.
Yeah. I love it. How can people, what's the seminar that you're doing this Sunday?
So it's networking. So the whole point of SoccerViza was that SoccerViza was created so if you pay for our services, you never have to pay to go to a tryout or a combine or anything again, because we'll show you where you should be targeting. How do you get in there? How do you contact people? How do you get people to respond to you? What's your true value? How do agents work? So we're doing a networking seminar on Sunday where we're going to teach you how to contact professional clubs, agents, and how to start conversations with them, or coaches. Like if you're a coach or an academy, how do you get more business? We're going to teach you the art of networking.
I love that. I mean, look at how you got on to here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just networking, man.
yeah,
And just
I love it.
Just shooting your shot, and
That's all we are. That's what we do, is we shoot our shot.
yeah, man. But dude, this is gonna be. I think this is gonna help a lot of our. I think this is gonna help a lot of people just to see what's really going on and like how hard. People think it's easy. People think that going over there, like the guy that you said, third division Romania, and he's coming from the U.S. and he's like,
You know how many of those
holy
guys
shit.
they come in and they're like they'll come in. I'm like, so I speak to them on the phone. I'm like, where do you think you can play? They're like, third division Romania. A lot of them, and then they get here and they're like, yeah, this is a good level.
Yeah.
And they do good, and they're like, oh, I can play here. No, you can't, because you're just as good. You got to be better, my friend. You can't hang. You got to be one of the top dogs who's getting 90 minutes every week.
And there's always guys coming up that are going to try to replace you. How much is that? Like,
And if you're a foreigner and you don't perform, what do you think the fans are going to do?
exactly.
You took one of our local guys out for this guy?
Exactly. So much pressure. That's crazy.
That's what builds.
I didn't even think about that. What's the roster overturn? This is your second year in Romania?
Now we just got done with our first year.
Just got done. So what do you think the roster is going to look like? Are there going to be mainstays?
25, 27 guys. We got our first
25.
game of the second part of the season on Saturday.
Got it. And okay. So you're like 16 games in or so?
Yes.
Yep. Awesome.
All right.
All right, man.
Jason, it was a pleasure.
Everybody needs to go and follow SoccerViza, because it's kind of like, it's almost like your Wrexham. Wrexham is taking over, United States soccer, and everybody's like in love with professional. It's like, dude, with all your social media and everything that you're doing, and your YouTube channel, you guys are basically Wrexham without Hollywood.
Maybe I can get a Hollywood guy to come help out. That would be great.
Well, investor, yeah,
That would be
exactly.
great.
Dude, Joe, thank you so much, man. And we'll do this again, and we'll try to get Cecilia on here.
Sounds good,
So-
Jason. Well, it was a pleasure. Good luck to you and your show and everything. All right.
All right, and this has been on Instagram. You're Instagram Live this whole time?
Right now, all these, I don't know how many guys we have, but we're on Instagram Live. So, and we'll make sure to shout you out, and we're excited.
Thanks, brother.
All
Appreciate you.
right. Have a great
All right,
day.
man.
I hate soccer.